heart and welcome to this episode of the Drink Less, Live Better podcast. This is the podcast that helps you to see that drinking less doesn't need to be stressful, lonely or boring. I'm your host, Sarah Williamson, and I decided to have a year alcohol-free as a little life experiment and haven't looked back. I'm here to support you with your alcohol-free or drink less adventures. Follow me on Instagram at Drink Less, Live Better. Find resources on my website, drinklesslivebetter.com, and buy my book of the same name. I hope you enjoy this podcast episode. Let's get straight to it. Self-talk. Oh yeah. By the time we're in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s or more, we've collected decades of experiences, achievements, and perhaps some self-doubt along the way. Let me share something that happened recently. I was getting ready to give a presentation for a group of people I really admire and consider to be leaders in their fields. And I caught myself thinking, they probably wanted someone much more dynamic than me, but I happened to be available on this date, so they just chose me because I was convenient. And then, I realised just how unkind that sounded and questioned who it was that was saying that to me. And, dear listener, it was me. I was speaking to myself in a way I would never speak to a friend, to my husband, to my kids, to colleagues, never in a million years. Now, admittedly, that narrative is not just me speaking to me. I recognise it's made up of a whole load of childhood patterning, self-knowledge, experiences of the world around me and more, but still, come on, it's not nice. Logically, I know the person organising the event approached me and asked me to speak. I know they were delighted when I said yes. They are paying me for my time, my expertise, and are showcasing me alongside other professionals who I equally admire. So I could just feel at least satisfied, if not elated, couldn't I? Well, yes. And of course, there's self-doubt, self-esteem, and confidence. Perhaps all conversation points for another podcast episode, because self-talk is what I'm focused on today. Those words running around in your head that we label as self-talk, perhaps we even call it negative self-talk, are thoughts. And becoming aware of those thoughts as they happen, like turning on a light in a dark room, is key to changing them. You don't need to judge yourself for having these thoughts. That would just be adding another circle of hell upon hell. Instead, try this. Perhaps for the next 24 hours, imagine your thoughts are text messages popping up on a screen. When you notice a negative message about yourself, don't try to delete it right away. Just label it or tag it. Oh yeah, there's that thought. This act of noticing creates a small but powerful space in between you and your thought. Pay special attention to your absolutes, your blacks and whites, the ones that start with always and never. I'll never figure out this new technology, or I always eat too much chocolate. These are usually red flags for negative self-talk that's become so familiar it feels like the truth. And the other one to watch out for is should. Wow, any sentence that starts with should is bound to be punishing. I'm willing to bet that between you and me, we have enough life experience to know that these absolute statements are rarely true. How about when you couldn't tie your shoelaces or when you couldn't drive? Yeah, you persevered and you likely told yourself, I'm going to keep practicing, or this is going to take some time to learn. The goal isn't to completely eliminate that self-talk. That's probably not realistic or even necessary unless you have an ego the size of a planet. And if you have an ego the size of a planet, I'm pretty sure you're not listening to this personal growth podcast anyway. Nope, the goal is to notice it, become aware of it, and then acknowledge it and accept it for what it is. Next, you get to choose whether you believe it or not. Think of it a bit like having a conversation with a slightly dramatic friend who tends to catastrophize everything. You can, of course, listen with compassion while knowing you don't have to accept their perspective as fact. You can take action by starting small. Notice one negative thought today, just one. Write it down if you can, or see it in a text message in your head. Then ask yourself, would I say this to someone I love? This simple question can be helpful in recognising when we're being unnecessarily hard on ourselves. I'm pretty sure you show understanding and compassion to friends and family. You do deserve to direct some of that compassion inward. Your self-talk isn't any kind of personal failure on your part. It's just a habit, and it's ready to be noticed, accepted, and actioned. You can start that today, chickadee. Yes, you can. Thank you for listening in today. Come back again next week. Check out the show notes for a link to a hidden podcast episode that will help you with your 5 p.m. cravings, and also details of my 90-day one-to-one sober coaching and details of my alcohol-free February coaching. And P.S. I believe in you.